We have about 5 choices, in our life. We can be bad at what we do. We can be average at what we do. We can be good at what we do, which probably is God's expectation for whatever ability He gave us. Or we can be excellent, or we can be elite. All right? And everybody has a choice as to what they want to do and how they want to do that. But if you're going to be excellent or elite, all right, you got to do special things. You have to have special intensity. You have to have special focus. You have to have a special commitment and drive and passion, all right, to do things at a high level and a high standard all the time. All right, and it doesn't matter what God-given ability that you have, that probably can make you good. But without the rest of it, I'm not sure you ever get excellent or elite.
Nick Saban is one of the longest-standing head coaches in NCAA history for the Alabama Crimson Tide football team, and his knowledge on the NCAA, both pre-NIL and post-NIL, will help us to understand how these deals change the environment of college sports. Stick with us as we go over old Nick Saban interviews to try to understand how older coaches feel about these new rule changes. This is More Money, More Problems, the podcast that analyzes how NIL deals have affected college athletes and the sports that they play. Welcome back. I'm Mitch, here with Charlie and Hudson. In our third episode, we will be reviewing Nick Saban's thoughts on name, image, and likeness deals being incorporated into NCAA sports, specifically in college football. Nick Saban recently retired from coaching in January of 2024, and according to many major news outlets, the reason is due to players, quote, being focused mainly on the transfer portal and demanding more money from NIL deals. Charlie, Hudson, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point that you bring up with Nick Saban. We saw something similar at the end of 2024 when the University of Miami men's basketball coach retired. He was 75 years old, and one of the biggest things he said about his retirement is that he was exhausted because of the changing landscape of college athletics, and he was pretty much talking about NIL itself and the problems that it's caused. And there was a quote from him that was in many interviews over the time that he was retiring about how he wasn't recruiting kids to be basketball players, he was recruiting them to sign checks, and that's not what he was a coach for, and that's why he retired.
That's a really interesting point, especially when you bring up that coach's age. Nick Saban was actually 74 when he retired, so a lot of the older coaches that can be said are from previous generations are usually the ones that seem to be retiring because of the institution of NIL deals.
I think those are good points, but at the end of the day, we don't really know what was going on before NIL. The game is definitely changing, but back in the day, everyone has some kind of idea that people were getting paid. So now at least it's public and it's not under the table. Everyone has a fair, or at least more fair chance of getting what they deserve and becoming the player that they want to be.
It is also said that Saban talked to his wife about his potential retirement, and she said that when she asked him about it, he replied with, all the things that I believed in for all these years, 50 years of coaching, no longer exist in college athletics. He is also stated to have said, why are we doing this? All they care about is how much you're going to pay them in regards to the players. How would you react if you were a coach at this high of a level college team and that's the impression that your players gave back to you?
I think it's interesting how you bring up Nick Saban's wife. Miss Terry is such a big influence within the world of college athletics. She always has been, and been a huge part of the University of Alabama football team. One of her main roles on the team is being essentially the team mom, and a lot of parents of recruits and of players always look to her to make sure that they're sending their kids somewhere where they're going to have a mother figure in their lives, and she's served as that for so many players over the last 50 years of Nick Saban's career. And when the line between that part of the game and the money part of the game get conflicted, I feel like that's part of where the Saban family wanted to back out of college sports.
And that makes a lot of sense. I feel like if you're given that reaction by the players that you have that you consider like family, it has to at some point get more personal, and you don't want to be in that environment coaching anymore.
On the other side of things, these players are dedicating all their time, so it's probably most likely 6 to 7 days a week, multiple hours, 4 to 5 hours a day that they're spending working on their craft, their sport. And it's a good compensation for them to have something to keep them driving through it, where they can get paid for all of the hard work that they're putting in as a team and individually.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It has to be really hard to balance how much work you put into something and wanting to be paid for it with wanting to treat the people that you go through these games, these battles with. You want to treat them like a family, and it's really hard at some point to know or to think, who do you need to put ahead, the team and my family or myself? So that has to be very difficult for these athletes. Here is an audio clip of Nick Saban talking about his thoughts on NIL deals.
People be more successful in life. So you're trying to develop value-based system, just like a value-based business, that would create opportunities for young people to be more successful. So this started with personal development. It started with academic support to make sure guys graduated and prepared themselves for when they couldn't play football. And also the whole concept of branding and making sure you had an image out there that was going to be something that would be enhance your chances of being successful and create opportunities for your future, and see if you can develop a career as a football player. Now, what we've done between freedom to transfer and creating a free agency system where guys can transfer whenever they want to transfer, and the whole idea that we've created a pay-for-play sort of model in college athletics have created some issues in being able to actually have a program and a system that would enhance those very values that I just talked about. And how does this even impact other sports relative to Title IX, relative to non-revenue sports? And how do we continue to create some kind of a model moving forward where we do improve the quality of life of the student athlete, but create some kind of a balance in terms of competitive balance, which all venues have some guidelines and rules that create some kind of competitive balance, which right now we don't have in college athletics. It's whoever wants to pay the most money, raise the most money, buy the most players is going to have the best opportunity to win. I don't think that's the spirit of college athletics. I don't think it's ever been the spirit of what we want college athletics to be. So that's my major concern, the combination of pay for play, free agency, and how that impacts development. And I can attest that I've had 2 NFL coaches tell me, and this is a football deal because they're concerned about the football part, that the players come to them less developed, with more entitlements and less resiliency to overcome adversity. And these are concerns that they have even in their football development. Well, if that's true in their football development, is that true in other parts of their development, whether it's academics or personal development? And each time you transfer, you minimize your chances of graduating by probably about 20%. Now we have guys transferring 2 or 3 times. So some of the goals and objectives of what we've worked so hard for the last 20 years to improve graduation rate, to improve health care for players, to have mental health care for players, all the things that we work so hard to improve on, we're going to start seeing slide in the wrong direction because we've created an environment that really does not promote personal development or that is going to create success for their future.
You know, one question I have to ask. You just retired from a amazingly and historically significant coaching career. How much did the current chaos and state of the law contribute to your decision to retire now?
Well, all the things that I believed in for all these years, 50 years of coaching, no longer exist in college athletics. So it's always was about developing players. It was always about helping people be more successful in life. My wife even said to me, we'd have all the recruits over on Sunday with their parents for breakfast, and she would always meet with the mothers and talk about how she was going to help and impact their sons and how they would be well taken care of. And she came to me, you know, like right before I retired and said, why are we doing this? And I said, what do you mean? She said, all they care about is how much you're going to pay them. They don't care about how you're going to develop them, which is all what we've always done. So why are we doing this? So, you know, to me, that was sort of a red alert that we really are creating a circumstance here that is not beneficial to the development of young people, which is why I always did what I did. My dad did it. I did it. So And that's the reason that I always like college athletics more than the NFL, is because you had the opportunity to develop young people. So, and I want their quality of life to be good. I think, as I said before, name, image, and likeness is a great opportunity for them to create a brand for themselves. I'm not against that at all. But to come up with some kind of a system that still can help the development of young people, I think, is paramount to the future of college athletics.
Alabama football is one of the largest markets for college football in the NCAA. The team is historically one of the best teams in the country every year for football. Do we think that the players caring more about money is enough of a reason for Saban to have retired?
I think it definitely is. I mean, from the perspective of me and Hudson, we are both on the men's lacrosse team here at Bentley, and we see how much work our head coach puts in. And this is obviously at the Division II level, a much smaller team. It's not even close compared to the University of Alabama, so I can't even imagine the amount of work that Nick Saban has to put in. And on top of this, having your players want more money than the effort they're trying to give would definitely blur the lines. And I think it's something that could put a lot of coaches over the edge, especially, I know we talked about it earlier, but the coaches who are from a different generation, the coaches that are in their mid-70s, it's not what they were used to their entire career, and it could definitely be a reason that they would want out in this situation.
On the other side of things, like if you kind of look at it more like a business, like you would never see like a boss quit the business because his employees are just there for the money. Like if you kind of look at it like that, the players, they're doing their best, and if they're playing for the money or they're playing for themselves, it doesn't really matter. Like as long as they're playing and performing, I don't see why the coach would have any problem with that.
With this being our final podcast, we thought it best to go over all of our overall thoughts on NIL deals. For me, I believe these deals are good for athletes, but bad for colleges and their coaching staffs. I think that in order for these deals to work as intended, there needs to be a better formal structure for dealing with NIL deals, player compensation, and the transfer portal. Until those areas get more regulation, I think we will see more hotshot stars only in it for the money, and we will also see more older coaches quit due to how their jobs are changing.
As a college athlete, I think the NIL landscape is a game changer, especially for athletes at smaller schools like Bentley. It gives us a chance to build our own brand and benefit from the hard work that we put in, even if we're not at a major Division I program. Before NIL, a lot of opportunities were limited to athletes at big-name schools with national attention, but now players at every level can leverage their name, image, and likeness to create something bigger than just their time in college sports. Whether it's local sponsorships, social media partnerships, or personal ventures, NIL allows us to set ourselves up for the future while still competing at a high level.
I believe NIL deals are a positive development in college sports because they help eliminate corruption and backdoor deals, ensuring transparency and fairness for everyone. These opportunities motivate athletes to perform better and maintain a positive image, as their personal brand directly impacts their earning potential. Additionally, NIL deals provide well-deserved compensation for the hard work and dedication athletes put in both on and off the field, recognizing their contributions and efforts in a meaningful way that will help set them up for the future that they will come into.
Thanks for joining us throughout this 3-episode podcast as we went over how NIL deals affect college athletes and the environment of the sport around them. Thanks for listening.